Hello students, today we are going to see the supplementary fourth chapter in the Kingdom of Fools. This story is a Kannada folktale. Folktale is a story which passed on from one generation to another. It is taken from the book Folktales from India written by A.K. Ramanujam. In the Kingdom of Fools, which means where people are not so wise, they are not intelligent. In the story, the king, his minister, and advisors are full. That means they are not wise and intelligent. Let us see the story. In the kingdom of fools, both the king and the minister were idiots. Here, idiot means the people who are not intelligent. They didn't want to run things like other things, so they decided to change night into day and day into night. As per other kingdoms' rule, they were trying to change their own kingdom. As per always, when night is night and day is day, these people wanted to change night into day and day into night. They ordered that everyone should be awake at night till their fills and run their businesses only after dark and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. Here till means to cultivate land for farming. So they ordered to the people that they have to awake at night, they have to go into their fields, they have to run their business and after dark only, and then they have to go to the bed as soon as sun came up. The people did as they were told for fear of death. The king and the minister were delighted at the success of their project. One day, a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It was a beautiful city in broad daylight, but there was no one about. Everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. Stirring means moving around, guru means saint. So one day, guru and disciple they came to the city, and then they saw that there was a daylight, though the people were asleep, and even not a single mouse was moving around. The two strangers were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered round town till evening, when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly businesses. Your amazed is shocked and surprised, and when they two strangers, they were very much surprised when they see that till evening they were sleeping, and as soon as there was a night, everybody woke up and started their work. The two men were hungry. Now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. To their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same, a single dudu. When they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a dudu. Dudu means money in Kannada language. When they had cooked and eaten, the Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools, and it wouldn't be a good idea for them to stay there. And Guru realized that this is the kingdom of fools, and if they are going to live here, then someday there could be a trouble for them. The Guru and his disciple were delighted, as they had never heard of anything like this, that whatever things they buy, it was just a rupee. But the disciple, he didn't listen to the Guru. He wanted to leave the place. Everything was cheap here, so he wanted to stay there, and it was good, cheap food. The Guru said, they all are fools, that this won't last very long, and you can't tell what they'll do to you next. But the disciple wouldn't listen to the Guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay back. The Guru finally gave up and said, do what you want, I am going, and the Guru left the city. The disciple, he stayed on. He ate his fill every day, bananas and ghee and rice and wheat. Day by day he grew fat like a street-side sacred bull. One bright day a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sticked it, and as he was carrying out his loot, the whole of the wall of the old house collapsed and his head and on his head and killed him on the spot. So it happened one day that a thief he broke into a rich merchant's house, and then he made a hole in the wall, and through that hole he entered the house, and then after collecting his loot he was trying to escape. But when he tried to move from the wall of the old house, it collapsed on his head, and that killed him on the spot. His brother ran to the king and complained, "Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to be blamed. He should have built a good strong wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this injustice." As soon as the brother died, the brother of the burglar, he came running to the king, and then he complained about the rich merchant. And he said that because of his weak wall, his brother died, so he should be punished and a compensation should be given to the family. The king said justice will be done, don't worry, and at once summoned the owner of the house. When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him, "What's your name?" "Such and such, your highness." "Were you at home when the dead man burgled your house?" "Yes, my lord. He broke in and the wall was weak. It fell on him." "The accused pleads guilty. Your wall killed this man's brother. You have murdered a man. We have to punish you." So this was the order of the king, that because of your weak wall, the brother of this particular man is killed, and now you are going to be punished. "Lord," said the helpless merchant, "I didn't put up the wall. It's really the fault of the man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. You should punish him." So instead of getting his own punishment, he just passed on the punishment to the person who has made the wall. The king sent out messengers to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him tied hand and foot. When the man arrived, the king asked him, "You there, did you build this man's wall in his father's time?" "Yes, my lord, I did." "What kind of wall is this that you built?" "It has fallen on a poor man and killed him. You have murdered him. We have to punish you by death." And king announced him that the wall which you have made, it was fallen on the man's head and he was killed, and now he is going to be punished. Before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded, "Please listen to me before you give your orders. It's true I built this wall, and it was no good, but that was because my mind was not on it." Now he started requesting the king that before you give your order, please listen to me. When I was making the wall, my mind was not with me. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling, and I couldn't keep my eyes or my mind on the wall I was building. "We must get that dancing girl. I know where she lives." And here he made the excuse that when he was making the wall, one particular dancing girl was going up and down that street all day, and she was wearing the anklets which was jingling, and because of that jingling sound, the bricklayer was not able to keep concentration on the wall which he was making, and that is why he said that we you must get that dancing girl, and he is knowing where that girl lives. "You are right. The case depends. We must look into it. It is not easy to judge such complicated cases. Let's get that dancer, wherever she is." The dancing girl, now an old woman, came trembling to the court. "Yes, my lord, I remember it very well. So you did a walk up and down with your anklets jingling. You were young and you distracted him, so he built a bad wall," the king said. "It has fallen on a poor burglar, and it killed him. You have killed an innocent man. You will have to be punished." So king ordered that the dancer who was responsible for building up of the bad wall, and that is why she was going to be punished. She thought for a minute and said, "My lord, wait. I know now why I was walking up and down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me." So now she remembers that why on that particular day she was moving up and down to the street. And then she recalled that on that day she has given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for her. He was a lazy scoundrel. He made so many excuses, said he would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. Goldsmith is a person who makes ornaments out of gold. And the lady said that the man was so lazy, and again he made excuses, and that made her going up and down. That was when his bricklayer saw me. "It's not my fault, my lord. It's the damned goldsmith's fault. Poor thing, she's absolutely right," thought the king. "Weighing the evidence, we have got a real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith, wherever he's hiding, at once." And now king ordered to bring the goldsmith into court, because the lady said that because of the goldsmith she was again and again going up and down to the street. The king's bailiffs searched for the goldsmith, who was hiding in a corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. Now, when Goldsmith came to know about the story and what was going on in the king's court, he just started making up his mind. The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now justice had come full circle, thought the king. Back to the merchant, when he was rudely summoned back to the court, he arrived crying. "It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He's dead. I'm innocent." So Goldsmith said that because of the rich merchant, he has to make his ornaments first, and that is why he was not able to make the ornaments of the dancer, and that is why nobody is responsible, only the rich merchant is responsible. And then rich merchant, when he came crying to the court, he said that it was not he, but his father has ordered the jewelry, and he is dead now, and the merchant is innocent. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. "It's true your father is the true murderer. He is dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die." And later on, the king, when he consulted his minister, and then he gave the order that it's like father is the true murderer, but now he is not there in this world, he is dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. And being a son who has inherited everything from the father, his riches and wealth and money, so his sins also, and that is why he was told that he was going to be punished. And he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. As the servant sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. Now, when the new stake was made, a place where the head is cut and executed. So here the servant, they were sharpening the stake, they were making the stake to be ready for the final impaling of the criminal. But it happened that rich merchant was somehow too thin, and it was not possible for him to be properly executed on the stake. So the people, the servants, they appealed to the king's common sense, and the king was also worried. "What shall we do?" he said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake, and their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. Finally, when the soldiers they went out in search of a person who would be fit properly in that stake, and when they were going out, immediately they went to the town. They were looking for a man who would fit the stake, and their eyes fell on the disciple who has now grown fattened because of the bananas, rice, wheat, and ghee, and that is why he was the only person in the whole town who was fat. What have I done wrong? I am innocent. I am a sannyasi, he cried. That may be true, but it's the royal decree that we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake, they said, and carried him to the place of execution. Now the soldiers forcibly took the uh, disciple, and he was crying that I am innocent and I am sannyasi, but they were not ready to listen because it was a king's order, and they have to find out a fat man to be fit enough to the stake, and then they carried him to the place of execution. He remembered his wise guru's words. This is a city of fools. We don't know what they will do next. While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The guru saw everything in a vision. He had a magic powers. He could see far, and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past. Now the disciple remembered the Guru's words that this is the city of fools. You don't know what they are going to do next. And but he was not ready to listen to his Guru at that time. But now, as he was waiting for death, he prayed to his Guru in his heart. He asked him to hear his cry wherever he was, and then he wanted help. And the guru, he was also having a vision, that magic power, and he was able to see what happened in far distance. He even can see the past, he even can see the present and the future. He arrived at once to save his disciple, who had got himself into such a scrape through love of food. As soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. Now, as soon as the cry of the disciple reached to the Guru's ears, at once came to save his disciple. And then, when he came there, he arrived, he scolded the disciple first and then told something into his ears. Then he went to the king and addressed him, O wisest king, who is greater, the Guru or the disciple? The king answered, Of course, the Guru. No doubt about it. Why do you ask? Then put me to the stake first. Put my disciple to death after me. Now Guru is talking to the king. He is saying that who is wise, a Guru or a disciple? And then the king answered that of course the Guru is always greater. Then he said that when I am greater, then you have to put me to the stake first and then my disciple. When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor, Me first, you brought me here first, put me to that first, not him. The Guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the Guru, Why do you want to die? We chose him because we needed a fat man for the stake. He was asking the reason of fighting. But the Guru said, You shouldn't ask me such questions. Put me to death first, replied the Guru. Why? There is some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand. Now the king wanted to know the reason. The king gave him a solemn word. The Guru took him aside out of the servant's earshot and whispered to him, Do you know why we want to die right now? The two of us, we have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. That stake is the stake of the God of justice. It's new. It has never had a criminal on it. The stake was newly built up for the rich merchant, but as the rich merchant was too thin, again there was a need to find out the person who is fat enough to fit into the stake. So it was a completely new stake, and that is why the Guru told the king that whoever goes next will be the future minister of the country. So the person who is going to die first will be the king, and the person who is going to die second will be the minister. We are sick of our ascetic life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and minister for a while. Now keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember. The king was now thrown into deep thought. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. He needed time, so he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. Now, king, what the king is saying to the minister? It's not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in the next life. Let's go on the stake ourselves and will be reborn as king and the minister again. Holy men do not tell lies, he said, and the minister also agreed with the king. So he told the executioners, well, send the criminals tonight. When the first man comes to you, put him to death first, and then do the same to the second man. Those are my orders, and don't make any mistake. So now king called the executioners, and he said that he is going to send the criminals tonight to the executioners, and whoever the first man comes to him, he has to put him to death first, and the second person then after, as per the king's order. That night the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the Guru and the disciple, disguised themselves as the two, and as arranged beforehand with loyal servants, were taken to the stake and promptly executed. Now that night the king and the minister, they went secretly into prison. They released the Guru and the disciple. They dressed up themselves just like Guru and disciple, and as it was arranged with the local loyal servants, the loyal servants took the king and the minister for the execution. As soon as see in the picture, we can see that how Guru and disciple is walking away from the prison. When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to crows and vultures, the people panicked. They saw before them the dead bodies of the king and the minister. The city was in confusion. Now people, when they saw the bodies of the king and the minister, they were confused, they were panicked, like they saw their king dead. So now what to do? They were in complete confusion. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. Some people suddenly thought of the Guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave town unnoticed. Now, when they were thinking like what to do next without king and the minister, and at particular time, some people they thought of the Guru and the disciple, and everybody ran after them. They tried to catch the Guru and the disciple as they were trying to leave the town unnoticed. We people need a king and a minister, said someone. Others agreed. They begged the Guru and the disciple to be their king and their minister. It didn't take many arguments to persuade the disciple, but it took longer to persuade the Guru. Here, persuade means to convince. So, king and minister, people wanted the Guru and disciple to take the place of king and disciple, and it was very easy for the people to convince the disciple, but it took a long time to persuade the Guru. They finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister on the condition that they could change all the old laws. Now finally both Guru and disciple they agreed that they will rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister, but only one condition. that they are going to change all the old laws. From then on, night would again be night and day would again be day, and you could get nothing for a dudu. It become like any other place. So now guru and disciple, as soon as they become king and minister, they change the old laws. Right now night was a night only, and day would again be the day, and nobody can purchase anything for a dudu. Now the city or the town has become like any other place. I hope you have understood the chapter. Once again, read the chapter, see the meanings, and try to understand. Thank you.